Hi, how are y'all doing today? Today we're going to be doing a dog named Daisy. She is all crossed over the Rainbow Bridge and needs to have a pet portrait done for her. This is for a good friend of mine's mom, and we're going to make it just for her. And welcome to Ivy Creates. I'm glad you're here. Thank you so much for watching. So the first thing I'm going to do is I got a picture of her in black and white, and I'm going to use my graphite paper just to kind of get the main part of the picture down on the canvas so I can make sure my proportions are correct and I can fill in the rest pretty easily. So this puppy was an older puppy. As you can see, she did have cataracts, so we're going to work to make her eyes come in. Please give me a subscribe and a like and hit that notification bell if you would. I would greatly appreciate it. So you can see I'm just filling in all the parts and trying to get as much around the eyes and the nose as possible, and of course the mouth and everything. And you want to get that really well lined up so that when you're painting you'll be able to see it and go by those lines. Of course, I do a lot more than just the basic on this particular puppy dog. Since they did cross the Rainbow Bridge, we're making it special just for her, and we'll be adding some flowers and some colors that go along with the owner's home. So that'll make it very personalized. It's something I like to do anyways. But this is our little angel puppy. Her name is Daisy. So now you can see I've got a sketch of the puppy dog on my canvas, and it is an 11 by 14 canvas, and I'm just using pencil to go back over and make sure that I've got all the lines that I want before I begin painting, and maybe darken some of the areas that I feel need to be darkened in a little bit, so that when I do start painting, the pencil will show through enough until I get it to where I want it. So that's what I'm doing, and just about finished with that, and we can start doing some paint. I hope you guys are doing well today. Do you have any pet portraits for your animals? I'm hoping soon to reach 1,000 subscribers, and when I do, I'm going to pick a person from my comments section of my videos, and I'm going to do a pet portrait for that person. So if you can, leave a comment below and leave me a like, and maybe you'll get picked for me to do your pet portrait. So now you can see I painted a bunch of the dark burnt umber around the outside edges, and basically I'll paint the backgrounds. For the most part, it may or may not remain the same color in the background. It is just to get the white off the canvas so it makes it easier for me to see the portrait that I'm doing. So I'm using some micro tip pens, and these are black pens, and they're like a brush tip, and believe it or not, I found this at the Dollar Tree, and these little pens are really awesome. They're but they are brush tip to give me more precise markings, and I do like that, using brush pens a lot. And this is of course acrylic paint, and it's multimedia. I'll be using also the Faber-Castell artist pit pens that are transparent, a little bit transparent, and then I'm using acrylic paint pens as well, and these are all brush tip pens to put down a very opaque paint when I'm painting. So you'll see me work back and forth with the different pens and markers, and then also with the paint. And it's just depending on how much detail. A lot of times it's easier to do fur with a paint pen or an artist pen, as long as it has like a brush tip on it that's very fine pointed, than try and dip back and forth into paint. You know, you can use your brush pen and it's all right there. You don't have to do that, and you don't have to worry about a paintbrush. A lot of times I find that the little fine tip paint brushes tend to be, they'll get all messed up or either they don't take enough paint, or they take too much, or they bend at the tip and I can't get a straight edge like I want. So that's why I use multimedia, brush pens and things like that. It helps to get with the details. So what you've seen there is I'm using just a little bit of gray for some of the areas, and I was using the darker black to make sure that I've got my markings around the face, because again, proportions are important. And now I'm just adding like a creamy color to the skin to do an underpainting on this dog. Even though she is a white and black dog, she, you can see in this picture here that it's got a slight creamy undertone to the skin. It's with a touch of pink to it. So this is a skin sand color, and that's what I'm using right now, just to give her a base coat on her face and her body. And I'm just using a flat brush. I use flat brushes most of the time with a little angled tip on them, or they can be straight as well, but I just use flat brushes because I like to use those, and helps me. And you can still see some of the pencil and some of the markings through the paint, and that's ideal, because I want to be able to, because I will go back and paint those and make them darker and such, but I still want to be able to see them so that I don't paint over something that I don't need to. If you have any questions or comments, please leave them below. And like I said, when I hit 1,000 subscribers, I'm going to pick someone from my comments section, and I'm going to do a pet portrait for them. So please do that. Leave me a comment and let me know what you think. Also, if you like any of the products that I have used, you can find a link to some Amazon down below in the description portion of the YouTube channel. So I'm just adding some white and some bright white in and around some of the areas that I thought really needed a more bright white. And the whole key to doing a pet portrait is to do it in layers, lots of different layers of color. You can always go back, paint over and paint again and again. You paint light, paint dark, go back and forth a bunch of times, to make sure you've got the colors you want. So these areas are the lightest points that I've got on this dog. So I'm just going with my bright white and trying to make sure that I get that bright white in there. So this is a little bit of light in the eyes. As I said, this dog had cataracts, so you couldn't really see the eye real well. It looked somewhat black, and I never really put a black eye on a dog. I'll go back and I'll add at least some brown in there somewhere to give them a little bit of color to their eye. But also, you'll make sure that you have the catch lights to make it look like you're actually looking into the pupils and the iris and everything. You want to have the black spot in the little white catch light, and that's the direction that your light should be coming from. So in this case, the light would be coming from the top left a little bit, and that way you can kind of see that. Now what I'm doing to the background is I'm going back with some water and some burnt umber, just a thin layer, to kind of change up the direction of the color in the background. It's just a personal preference. It does not have to be something that you do whatever background you want. but it's just changing up the direction because I didn't like the way it was quite looking. And I may do that several times. Many times throughout a painting, I will change my mind about something and change the direction of the background or change the colors or anything. You'll see that later towards the end. And do stay tuned, because I've also got in the end portion of this video many of the other pet portraits that I've done. And every pet portrait that I've done, just about every single one, there is a video of me doing it. Very few of them I don't have videos for. So now I'm going in and adding a little bit of the burnt umber to the ears, and I usually put a little bit of pink with that, because in the ears, you know, you get that pink skin just a little bit under the hair. And you'll see how that turns out in a little while, just adding in some more color to it. I know, like I said, it is a black and white dog, but you still have other colors that is underpainted in the dog. And that is because of the skin. You can see I'm adding the dark mauvey pink to the skin there. And maybe just a little touch on the nose and the lips down there of the puppy dog. Now always remember, when doing a nose of a dog, it's very, very textured. So you want to do it like a polka dotted, a little bit polka dotted. That way it shows more of the texture. Or you can even go in and get, if you wanted to get a body medium for your paint, or get a heavier body paint, you can do that, and that'll leave texture. But for me, I just prefer to do little polka dots, and that gives me the feeling of texture, even though my paint is flat. So this is just getting in the lines and color for her collar and her necklace. Alright, now I'm using a brown acrylic paint pen and just filling in some of the areas around the eye to make it more realistic looking. Of course, I do not do photorealism in my paintings. My paintings are a little different than that. It is a fantasy type of painting, but you still want to make it somewhat realistic looking. And that's just giving her life to her eyes. And so I used my blow dryer to blow dry it, make sure everything was good and dry. And now I'm going back with a little black Faber-Castell pen that's transparent, not quite solid, and that will give me, you know, more depth as I'm adding more and more black to my animal. I go in and I make small short strokes because this dog has short hair. So you want to do small short strokes when you're doing the brush or anything like that. And you want to make sure that you still leave some of the underpainting, you know, showing through. You don't want to paint it solid. That's why you're doing short strokes with the brush. Now, using a paint brush pen is a little different from, like I said, paint brushes in general, because it is a little stiffer, but just right at the nib, the tip of it, it kind of moves back and forth smoothly like a brush. It's not quite as flopsy as a brush, but, you know, I don't know if flopsy's a word, but whatever. You know, it does give you more control, to me, to use a paint pen often when I'm doing detail. And I wanted to make her as if she had a little bit of a smile, so that's what you've seen. I've tried to work it in, and she's got just a little touch of a smile, and she's, you know, happy. So I'm adding the highlights with a white Faber-Castell pen. Like I said, it is kind of transparent, and this is just to make sure I've still got my highlights on the nose of the puppy. I always say puppy, it's just a thing. Puppies and dogs, I rarely say dog, I always say puppy. Even if they're old, to me they're still puppies. It's just like, you know, your baby's always your baby. Same thing. So now I'm going to add little strokes in for the ears to give them that hair look. Just start adding in some of those to darken it up. And this is a gray, I believe, acrylic paint. Yeah, gray acrylic brush. And I find my paint pens just about anywhere. I mean, anywhere from the Dollar Tree to Dollar General to Michael's or Hobby Lobby. I will say this, I find a lot more in Michael's than I do in Hobby Lobby. My acrylic paint as well, I use from both Hobby Lobby and Michael's, but the brushes and the paint pens that I find usually are in Michael's. And look in other areas when you're searching for your multimedia pens and markers and things like that. Look in other areas. Look in areas like the keepsake area where they're doing paper crafts. You know, if they've got paper crafts, they usually have some really cool paint pens and markers and things in there. And I look in the kids section for the kid craft section. I'll look you know, in the cards and gift areas, just all kinds of areas that I'll look at. I'll look at just about everywhere. If I go into an automotive supply place, I'm going to look and see what kind of paints they have, because I may choose to get some of that, you know. It's just one of those things. I find my tools anywhere I can find them, and I'm always the type of person that I'll use different products for not for their intended purposes. I repurpose them for different things. And you can see that I'm just using right now I'm using a gray acrylic paint pen, and it has got the brush tip, and I'm just using small short strokes on the brush to give it depth on here. And that's what I do with a lot of you know, adding the fur, just short small strokes. You start down with your stroke on the canvas, and you lift up at the end really quickly, so that way it gives it that little tip on the hair. And you'll see as I go, I mean, it's when you start out, you're color blocking, you're not putting a bunch of detail in, and you just add and add and add each little layer until you've got enough detail that it starts coming together at the end. So I live in the deep south on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. We are forecasted to get snow this week. And I know some of you might live up north and you are used to snow, but we don't get it here ever. And I have traveled pretty extensively, but the weird thing is wherever I go, the snow usually runs away from me. I've been to Vermont, I've been all over the country, no snow. I've been to Vermont at Christmas time, no snow. But we get snow, I think, you know, maybe once every 15, 20 years. So my little granddaughter is 3 years old, and I said, y'all, if there's snow within 2 hours, we're going to make snowmen, because I would love to do that with her as her first snow experience. So you can see I'm putting in, I put in little dots around the mouth. I use dots on that, and then short strokes on the fur. And I'll just keep doing that until I get to a point where I feel comfortable with it and the different colors that I'm using and the different paint pens. So I'm just outlining her necklace and putting in the darker fur that I can. And I don't want to go totally black as of yet. and she does have a lot of gray in her face, and with a dog usually that comes out as white in the fur. So I'm just adding in the darker slowly, and it'll get down to where it looks like it's more salt and pepper, like a salt and pepper gray person. I hope that you're enjoying the video. I thank you very much for watching. I'm going around the line of the eye now, around the little lid and the lower lid of the eyes, just to give it the white down there around your eye. Anything to bring them to life. And the Faber-Castells are really great, the artist pit pens. They are slightly transparent, and so you can layer them several times to get the look that you want, and the paint underneath will still shine through even when you're adding more on top, like I'm adding the white. Back to the gray, adding in the little darker areas of the face of my puppy dog. It is so hard when somebody loses an animal that you've had for many, many years. It's losing a family member. The grief is very much real, and I had lost almost a year ago. It was last February. I lost a dog that I had for over 10 years, and it was very hard, so I completely understand. And it's an honor for me to be able to do a posthumous type of portrait for a pet. You know, and so always take good pictures of your pets. You never know when you might need them. Because you don't always have the best pictures of your animals. So today, my little granddaughter, we had her birthday party. She turned 3. And today we had t-shirts and short sleeves, and it's hard to believe by Tuesday we will have snow. If that happens, you know, down here in the South, people don't know anything about snow, and it is a free-for-all. You would think we lived through so many natural disasters, hurricanes, tornadoes, floods, all the good stuff. But when it comes to snow, people lose their minds down here. And I would suggest if you're from up north and you are in the South and it snows, don't drive anywhere, because those people will kill you. They don't know anything about the snow, and they will just kill you driving because it's so bad. Just stay home. Now I'm using the black Faber-Castell, just lining in more and adding more depth of color. And I just keep adding my layers over and over until I get it to where I feel it's good. when I'm doing the pet portraits, I like to do pet portrait with a little personality, make it a little different, added personality to it. So it's always helpful for me to know what the animal was like. It helps me also to feel like I'm doing something more personal. What were they like? What did they enjoy? And you know, what can I do that's special for them? In this case, Daisy is her name. So, and I happen to know that the lady likes the burgundy and the beige color that's in the background right there in the picture. So I try to work towards that. If I know someone, you know, like, oh, this dog really liked this particular toy, or they love to swim or hunt or whatever, then I go for trying to make it as personal as possible. And that just helps with the memories. Now I'm using more of a cream color, not a solid white, like off-white color acrylic paint pen. And this is to add that creamy color in some of the darker areas of the fur. And I go back and forth many times between the white and the cream because it is a white fur, but in the picture, not that I'm doing exact, but I do want it to look sort of like the picture. It's much more relatable to the person that you're doing it for if they can look at the photograph that you used and know that you used that as closely as possible. They can relate to the animal, and then they know it's their animal and not just some random animal you pulled up on the internet. And when you're going back and forth with the fur, like you see me doing, try not to do what I just did there. You want to skip around to different parts of the animal to do the fur. You don't want it in a straight line. You want it to be as random as possible as to where the fur comes out. And so if you do catch yourself doing a straight line, make sure you go back and make it look more randomized. Okay, now I'm starting to add some of Daisy's personality here. And this is started with her flowers that she's going to have. And I decided to make her a little crown of flowers. And I started with the yellow and white because it is Daisy. But you will see that I don't end up with yellow and white. That's just where I start. And that is the nature of almost every painting I do. I might start somewhere and end somewhere else. You just never know. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them below. Thank you much for watching. And like I said, when I get to 1,000 subscribers, I am going to choose someone out of my comments to do a portrait for their pet. So I'm using the bright white and just adding little flowers across her head. And these are very simple flowers because it is Daisy. I'm trying to make simple daisies. And I'm just hand drawing them as, you know, sketching them as I paint. So I'm going back and forth between a bright school bus yellow and a bright titanium white. So just to mark it in on her little flower crown. And I made like she was holding some daisies. Do stay tuned to the end because I will have many of my other pet portraits that I can show. I slide through some of them so you can see some of the other pet portraits, and I have videos on most all of them. You can see this is a very simple flower. It's a matter of probably you usually want odd numbers of leaves. Just like anything with design, you never want an even number, you always want an odd number. So I try to do odd numbers. Sometimes you end up with even numbers, and that's okay, but just try to make an effort to do odd numbers on design. It's something about it is it's a known design principle, and it makes it easier for the eye to be comfortable with. Don't ask me why, it's just the way it is. And so I try to do 5 to 7 petals or so for a daisy. Occasionally, like, you know, 1 or 2 I might have 6 petals or what have you, but never less than 5 petals for a daisy. Unless you're doing it from the side. Now that's another story. And you want to make them kind of random. You want to make it kind of messy. You don't need to have it look super, you know, perfect. You want it to be kind of messy because daisies are kind of messy. They're not real perfect. So just add the color to it as you go, and this is just the way my process, my paintings, I work. I add the color and I paint until I'm happy with it. There are no strict rules about anything. You can do anything you want to do, and any way, in any direction. You can start with something. You don't have to, you know, start the same way that I do. You can always start your own direction. That is the fun thing about painting, is if you don't like it, you just paint over it. You wait for it to dry, paint over it, or you get a blow dryer and dry it. And another thing about the acrylic pens that I do love, the paint pens, is they dry super fast. And that is, I work kind of fast, not as fast as you see on the video because I do speed it up. But I do work fairly fast, and I like the fact that they dry pretty quickly. Like sometimes you'll see me rub my hand across the canvas because I'm checking to see if it's dry. Don't ever do that. It's just it's a thing that I do. So now I'm using a yellow acrylic paint pen just to add in, you know, more colors because I'm still not quite happy with the colors of my daisies. And I'll tell you another trick as well. You saw me paint the dog, and I paint the entire dog before I start adding to it, because a lot of time I'll add hats, which you'll see in a few minutes when you're going through my pet portraits. I'll add hats or coats or clothing to a dog. Or like in this case, it's the flowers. If there's something that you don't like on the animal and you're like not satisfied with the way it came out, having some other elements in a painting like flowers can cover it up, or a hat or a jacket or something that can cover up something that you're not happy with and make it look like something you intended to do. So if you're just overly not happy about a particular thing, it's like, oh, I don't like the way this shoulder is, or oh, I don't like the way this leg is, put a flower over it. You'll never know. It'll work out fine. Now you can see I'm even working to make it more random looking in my petals. Please add your comments below and let me know what you think about what it is so far. Now you'll remember that I told you earlier that this particular animal, her house, that the lady's house that had this puppy, she liked burgundy and beige colors, and so the beige came out pretty well, you know, like the brown in the background came out very well. And you don't have to have the exact colors of the person, what they have. All you want is something that goes along with it, something that is maybe similar or close to it or in the same color family. It doesn't have to be the exact color of what they're wanting it to go with. And with a painting, quite honestly, if it doesn't match anything in the back, in the room, that's okay too, because art is meant to stand on its own. Now, these are going to be some of the portraits and paintings that I've done over time with the different pet portraits and animals that I like to paint. I like Bubbles right there. That one was a really cute one with a doodle. And I've done a cow for someone. And this is for a baby raccoon. That was adorable. This is for my best friend's mom. That was her Christmas, and she liked British tea time. And this one is a little fairy puppy. So, you can do all kinds of things with your pet portraits. They don't have to be one thing. This is a Mardi Gras dog, and this one here is a Jimi Hendrix inspired dog. This one liked her little bone that she had. She really loved her bone. This one was in a pile of leaves. That was absolutely gorgeous. This one liked to go swimming and hunting a lot, so they got a pond. This is the cat house, and the cat house, she's a mess. That's all I can say. Hero is a sweet bull that unfortunately was hit by lightning, so he passed on. This is my dog, Clyde. This is a Victorian lady named Sally, and her man, Mr. Lincoln. I hope you enjoy some of those little, just some samples of some of the things that I've done. So please hit the likes and the hearts and all the good stuff for me. And share. Definitely share it with people so everybody can add up and we can get to 1,000 and get somebody's pet portrait done. So now I'm just going in with my paint pens and I'm adding in some more color. And you will see me paint until I'm happy with it. And in many cases, if I'm not happy with it, then I change up the whole thing. And in this case, I got to looking at it. As much as I love the yellow daisies, the yellow and white, because that's what you think of when you think of daisies, I had to change them to like cosmos kind of, because I really wanted it to be more like the colors that the lady liked. Her colors, like I said, were the burgundy and the beiges, and you'll see in a minute I change the color of all the flowers to make it more like something maybe that would go in her house. And it is okay, painting is all from you, so you can change your mind at any time, and you can change the look of your painting at any time. Now, what I'm doing here around the flowers is I'm putting little dots and just dotting the white in lots, like a little cloud. And what that is like baby's breath in the daisies, a small little white flower in amongst the daisy crown. Now, I have been hiding my desk, but this is what my desk looks like, y'all. And it is a mess. It stays a mess. That's the way that I work. So I've been trying to hide it a little bit so you didn't see as much, but just wanted you to notice that, yeah, that is the way that I work. And I've got my paint pens. I've got my paint pots because I don't use a palette. I use those little pots so I can conserve paint because I'm very frugal when it comes to paint. It's just a thing. So I mix it up in those little pots, and that's how I open those and I use them, and I can still save the same color later if I want to go back to it. So this is where I kind of start to go, as much as I like the yellow daisies, I think she would like burgundy cosmos better. And a cosmo is basically, it's another daisy. It's just a different color. And it's funny, I grew up in a flower shop, and I love flowers. I can grow the the tar out of flowers. I do not wear flower patterns, but I can design any kind of flower arrangement or any sculpture of flowers you ever would want. But when it comes to painting them or having flower patterns, that has always been not so easy for me. I'm not the best painter of flowers. I really try, but I can't say that I do really great at flowers. So you just have to, like anything, you got to practice until you eventually get it. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate you being here. And I hope you learned some new techniques and tricks and tips. And leave me some good comments, and I will look at them and I'll get back to you. And enjoy this and the rest of a few other paintings that I've got at the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching.